Alright, so in this little segment what we're going to do is take a piece of masonite, or otherwise known as hardboard, and we're going to learn how to prime it up. Now this piece I got from Home Depot, and Home Depot is one of the places where they'll refer to this as hardboard. And all you want to make sure is that your hardboard or masonite is tempered, which means it's nice and smooth on at least one side. Now this side, luckily, is double-sided tempered, so you can choose whatever side is the least dinged up and use that. But some hardboard comes with a crosshatch pattern on the back, which is very rough. That's not the side, that's untempered. You don't want to touch that, okay? You want to make sure that you're using the tempered side, the nice smooth one, and then we're going to alter the surface with our sandpapers and our gessos. So the three things that you, or four things I guess you need, are 100 grit or 150 grit sandpaper, and you want to make sure that you use these lower grits because they're more coarse and they'll create grooves in the board, which is exactly what you want. You want to create little grooves with the coarse sandpaper that the gesso will then get into. The second thing we'll need is some gesso, and of course I use Liquitex paint, so I use Liquitex gesso. Gessos are gessos, okay? As long as it's a chalk-based gesso, you're good to go. The next thing we'll need is a piece of 400 sandpaper, okay, or 320, and that is for sanding in between coats. And the last thing we'll need is a house roller. Now I prefer a 6-inch over the big 8-inch long 4-inch round house rollers, but a lot of artists use the big house rollers. I like the little 6-inch because it's more controllable. I can get into smaller areas and work it a little bit easier when I want to. So I just prefer a 6-inch, which anyone's good. The only ones you want to stay away from are trim rollers, and you can know those because they're very flat. They're almost like a foam, and they create no texture on the board, so you're actually defeating the purpose when you're using trim rollers. All right, so let's get to sanding down this board. So sanding a masonite board is nothing special. Literally just take your 100 grit sandpaper. I'm using 150 here just because I'm out of 100. And 150 is going to give you coarse enough. I prefer 100, but 150 is going to do just fine. And literally, you just sand the top of the board. Now I make sure that I get right along my edges too. Okay, the edges you want to make sure are done. The edges you want to make sure are done very well because that's where the most tension is going to be on the board when you lay when you lay gesso down. So you want to make sure that you get a good sand around your edges so that there's a nice groove for the gesso to adhere into the little grooves. Okay, I like to turn it up. And I'll go around all the edges, doing the edges too. It'll give it a nice smooth edge. Now right here, if we can zoom in on this, and hopefully it'll come up, you can see that there's a little bit of an edge. So you really want to get rid of that. You want to sand stuff like that right down and make sure that you get the whole board really smooth. And then you can go in after with your 400. So just give it a nice complete sanding, sand down all edges, and then we'll put a layer of gesso on that. Now sanded, before I go to put on a layer of gesso, what I want to do is make sure that all the dust we've created is gone. So I just went and I got a damp rag and just lightly remove all the dust. Now you don't want to use a soaking wet rag because you can see how there's a little dampness on the board already. If you use too much of a wet rag, that board, it's wood, it's just going to suck the water in. It's going to take forever to dry out and you'll be wasting time waiting for all the moisture to come off of this board. All you want is a damp rag that's going to take any of the leftover dust created from sanding off the board so that we have a nice, now clean surface that we can take our house roller and start priming the board with. Alright, so now we're ready to put a coat of gesso on, so I'm going to use my trusty Liquitex gesso. And you want to put enough gesso just to cover the board. So I put a little more on for the first coat because you suck in a lot more with the roller. And then you just want to roll it out, okay? So that might have been a little too less. This is a brand new roller, so it's going to suck in a lot of moisture. And we want to roll that gesso out and just let the roller do all the work. Okay, the roller is what's going to make all the texture here. All right, now what you want to do with this first coat is you just want to get the board covered. All right, your buildup will come from your second and your third coat, and sometimes I put on a fourth. Now, I put on as many coats as I need. It's very, very rare that I need anything more than 3 to 4 coats. Okay, and typically 3 will do it. I've been finding lately that I've been happier with 4, so I'll put that little extra one on. Okay, so there you go. The whole board now is just evenly covered with 1 roller. Okay, so we'll let that dry and we'll do a sanding, and we'll show you a second coat. Our second stage now is to take some 400 sandpaper. 320 will do too, and we're just going to give a light sanding, and all we're doing here is we're taking off any kind of high raised burr or imperfection. Okay, so we don't have to go nuts, just a light sanding just to even things out. And like I say, what you're looking to do here is take out any kind of little burr left over or buildup of gesso. Okay, and then we take the old trusty damp cloth and make sure that we don't leave any dust, gesso dust from sanding left behind.